Yo, what's going on, everybody? So I'm gonna keep it real with you, right? Boruto chapter 33 is gonna be one of these chapters you're either loving or you're absolutely hating. And based on the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people are complaining about the fact that we've got 3 chapters in a row that are dealing with just straight heavy action, and people are saying they want a little more plot progression. I'm gonna address all of that at the end of this video, but I just want to go ahead and say right now, for the anime only viewers, if you are watching this by accident, please click off of the video, because this is going to contain some major spoilers that the anime may or may not be covering sometime this year or next year. Really just depends on the pacing that the anime goes with, so I don't want to spoil anybody by mistake. Now, with that being said, if you're still here, I'm going to assume you're perfectly okay with spoilers. So Boruto chapter 33, I'm not gonna lie, I actually enjoyed the chapter. Now, I know that's probably going to be a really unpopular opinion, more so because a lot of people, when it comes to this chapter, a lot of people feel as if this was too action heavy, it was too focused on taijutsu. But I really feel like in order to fully appreciate what Ikimoto did in this chapter, I really feel as if you have to take a look at what his main influence is. For Ikimoto, he was a Dragon Ball, like that was what he was heavily influenced by. And when Masashi Kishimoto, who's still the editor for the Boruto manga, not as heavily involved anymore, but still the editor for the manga, when Kishimoto told him to, hey, you're gonna draw the series, you're gonna draw whatever Kodachi writes, when that happened, he said, hey, try not to mimic anything I'm doing. Like, give us your own style. This is your opportunity to show what you can do. And so when you look at the art style, when you look at the fighting and everything, we've been getting a slow progression towards what we're getting right now, which is art style that's more Dragon Ball like forget what you know about Dragon Ball Z, forget what you know about Dragon Ball's anime if you've ever watched it, forget what you know about Dragon Ball Super. If you read the Dragon Ball manga, the way that the fight sequences are drawn is very similar to what you're actually seeing Ikimoto trying to imitate. And if I'm not mistaken, he even said when it comes to the Boruto fight sequences, that's something he tries to do. So I mean, it makes sense when you have the scene when Naruto and Delta are just locking fists and then their fists clash against each other's face. That's something you see in Dragon Ball all the time. So I get where he was kind of coming from on that. Now, when it comes to the chapter, I love how it opens up where Delta's saying, I can't believe you did this, Kawaki. I can't believe that you put your body in harm's way. She's struggling. She's legitimately struggling to understand how Kawaki can sacrifice his body, sacrifice himself for the Hokage's daughter, how he can sacrifice himself for the Hokage himself, people that Kawaki doesn't really know. And it just blows her mind. But it's in that conversation that we get a real glimpse into how Kara actually views Kawaki. Like, we all know that they view him as a vessel, but this is the first time Naruto's hearing it. And so for Naruto to hear Kawaki being stripped of his humanity, being stripped of everything that makes him a human being, when Naruto hears her refer to Kawaki as a vessel, as being the vessel for Jigen, as belonging to Kara, that his body isn't his own and that his body is strictly for the usage of Kara, in that moment, if you look at how Naruto's drawn with such a serious face, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And a big part of the reason why I love it is in that moment when that happened, I really feel as if Naruto was getting flashbacks. Naruto's getting flashbacks, and I know somebody's like, Naruto getting flashbacks. Like, come on, this is a Naruto series. Of course, there's gonna be flashbacks. No, what I mean by that is Naruto is probably thinking back to his younger years when he was being hunted by the Akatsuki and didn't really know why he was being hunted. And then when he learned it was because of the nine-tailed fox that was inside of him, and that all these people who are Jinchuriki were being hunted down just like him, and that they're viewed as weapons. And he listens to Chiyo give the whole tale of the Jinchuriki, and then he has to look at Sakura, and Sakura's looking like, oh my god, I didn't know that he was dealing with all of this. Naruto in that moment was relating to Kawaki even more so than he's ever done before, and I love it. I love it. That is nice symbolism right there. That is really nice symbolism. That was really nice. And so when Naruto hears this, you can tell, like, if Naruto hadn't already welcomed Kawaki into the house of the Uzumaki, he's got a permanent household in that residence. And what's so beautiful about that? What's so beautiful is Naruto says, okay, that's it. I'm gonna find this Jigen person that you're talking about. And it's because Naruto's like, okay, this kid doesn't have a Biju inside of him, but he's still being hunted just like I was. And that relatability, I like how what we've been seeing since chapter 29 is that Boruto is watching as Kawaki and his father are forming a relationship. They're forming a relationship, and there's a lot of symbolism there. There's a lot of parallels, better yet. There's a lot of parallels between Naruto's story and Kawaki's story. I think that's good storytelling. I do think that's good storytelling. And what I found really interesting is when Delta says, hey, an outsider like you need to stay out of it. I like how in that moment, I really feel as if when this happened, Naruto didn't feel like an outsider. I feel like he was projecting himself onto Kawaki and thinking, okay, I had people who fought for me when these people, these Akatsuki, were hunting me down. There's nobody fighting for this kid. I'm not gonna allow Kawaki to go through what I did, where he's alone, whereas I had people willing to stand up for me. If no one else will stand up for him, I'll stand up for him. And that's what makes it so beautiful when Naruto charges forward, and he and Delta, they get in this taijutsu barrage. It's very Dragon Ball-like, and like I said, I enjoy that part. But what you see is like Naruto is just progressively getting serious and serious and serious, and even Boruto remarks, he says, Dad looks really angry. Like, I've never seen Dad this angry before. Like, think about this. Like, Boruto's seen Naruto fight against Momoshiki. He's seen Naruto fight seriously against Momoshiki. And this is Naruto after Momoshiki tried to kill everybody in the Chunin exams arena. This is Momoshiki after he's fused. And yet Boruto's saying, I've never seen Dad look this angry before. I really feel as if it's because Boruto does not know the struggle of being a Jinchuriki. I think that was something that was omitted. I don't think Boruto's generation really knows about it. I think they know that Naruto has the Kyuubi inside of him, but I don't think they know about the curse of the Jinchuriki and just how dark that history is. And so what's really telling is Naruto is progressively just ramping it up, and we're seeing firsthand what Kawaki was talking about. When Kawaki says at any given moment Naruto could end this fight, he could end it. Like, the difference in power between Naruto and Delta is vast, it's wide, and sure enough we see it. Like, Delta, her credit, she's coming back for more every time. Like, when Naruto kicks her cleanly all the way across the battlefield. When he kicks her clean across the battlefield, Delta comes back and she starts swinging for more, and Naruto is just continuing to lay it on her. And what's really telling about this is after Naruto knocks her down yet again and pins her down, and as Delta is struggling to regain her bearings, Naruto's saying, okay, you know what? Like, you keep talking about this Jigen guy. I'm assuming that's your leader. That's fine. I'll deal with him. I told you, if you lay a hand on these kids, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. And that's referring to the fact that, like, in the last chapter, Himawari was put in harm's way. Kawaki has been harmed trying to defend his daughter, which is Naruto's job. Naruto tells Boruto to watch over Himawari and Kawaki, and after he says, I'm gonna hunt down Jigen, I'm gonna hunt him down, I'll bring him to justice myself, that's obviously setting up a future plot point. But with Delta, this is when Delta realizes, okay, I'm completely in deep. And to Naruto's credit, we see something we haven't seen in a while, right? Naruto has definitely grown. You can tell that it's been 16 years since the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War, because in this moment, Naruto has already broken down Delta's jutsu. That scientific ninja tool that she has, Naruto's already broken it down and exposed the weaknesses. And it's just a matter of subtly putting his play into action, where you can see his plan take forth. And what you see is Naruto is just lulling her into a false sense of security, right? He's lulling her into a false sense of security. She doesn't even realize she's being led, right? And so what happens is Naruto gets close enough for her to use her scientific ninja tool eye to shoot off those beams that kill off your body at a cellular level to where you can't regenerate. Naruto gets close enough, and Delta thinks like, okay, I got him. I got the Hokage. Naruto ain't having it. Naruto just forms a Rasengan, point blank range, blocks the attack. And Delta's like, oh, you think that's a good idea? Okay, try another one. And right away, when Naruto forms another Rasengan, she tries to absorb the chakra. And when this happens, Naruto's plan goes in effect. And this is what's so brilliant, right? Like, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the expression KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Well, that's exactly what happens here, right? That's exactly what happens. So what Naruto does is Naruto realizes, okay, Delta has the ability to absorb chakra, but there's got to be a limit. At some point, there's got to be a limit. And sure enough, that's exactly what he's going for. So Naruto says, okay, I'm already in Sage of Six Paths mode. I've already activated the Kyuubi chakra mode. Let me see how much she can take. And so he just uses the giant Rasengan, and then she absorbs it. And then so Naruto just starts using the super giant big ball Rasengan, just going big ball Rasengan after big ball Rasengan over and over and over. And she's just steadily absorbing it. And Delta doesn't even realize what Naruto's doing. And at first, Boruto's like, Dad, what are you doing? And then even Boruto, granted, this is Gani, Channing, who is of genius level intellect. Even Boruto figures it out. Boruto figures it out and he says, oh my god, I get what Dad's trying to do. And he's breaking it down for Kawaki as well as the audience, which would be us, and saying, okay, she's got to have a certain amount of chakra she can absorb. Dad's just trying to give her more chakra than she can handle, and then that's when he's going to attack. And sure enough, towards the end, after Naruto's just going Rasengan after Rasengan after Rasengan and laying his trump card into play, Delta realizes her body is reaching its limit. Her body's reaching its limit, and what's genius about what Naruto did is Naruto's hitting her repeatedly with Rasengans and forcing her to absorb it, but he's doing it so quickly that Delta can't fire it back. Like, I had a lot of people saying, oh, this is so stupid. Why doesn't she shoot the jutsu back at him? Okay, I'm gonna explain to you why she doesn't shoot the jutsu back. I'm gonna explain to you why this doesn't happen. So let's look at it from this perspective. Delta can't really harm Kawaki, right? Like, she freaked out once she realized Kawaki got hit, and Kawaki has to be brought back in good peace, okay? So Naruto's pumping out a lot of chakra in these Rasengans, a lot of compressed chakra. Even though it's expanding, it's compressed chakra, and if Delta shoots it back at Naruto, the two Rasengans are gonna clash. The explosion, the amount of chakra that is coming in these Rasengans is gonna do colossal damage to the area. It's gonna damage Delta herself. Naruto could probably tank it. Kawaki's probably gonna get hurt at the same time, so Delta can't run that risk. And so Naruto's essentially turned the table on her. Whereas Naruto couldn't use his full power because he would run the risk of harming the village, Naruto's now figured out that Delta has a weakness as well. And so Naruto's put her in a position to where she can't make the maximum usage of her skill set. And that's what makes it so brilliant. It's so simple, but it's brilliant. And what I also like is, now that I know that Ikimoto is a huge Dragon Ball fan, this is what this is the equivalent of, right? So if you go back to the Dragon Ball manga, not the Z anime, the Dragon Ball manga, and you get to about the chapters around chapter 420, 430, that's around the time that you should be seeing Son Goku when he fights Yakon. And so Yakon is this beast who can absorb ki. And so Goku keeps feeding him ki and ki and ki until his body explodes. And you also saw this in the Naruto manga around volume 40, now it wasn't 43, around volume 47. That should be around the time Naruto fights Pain. And when this is happening, Naruto's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep giving this dude chakra, nature chakra, until he turns into a frog, until he turns into the frog stone. And so it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's an homage to both series, which was a really nice touch. But what's really brilliant about this is, just like with Yakon, Delta's eye malfunctions, and it doesn't blow up, but it short circuits, and you just see like the coloring on it. Similar how when Sasuke overuses Mangekyo, Sasuke's eyes were whited out for a brief period. And so what's really brilliant about this is Naruto then tells her, like, okay, I knew that your body could absorb chakra, but I also realized it had to store the chakra. There's only so much chakra that you should be able to store. I've exposed your weakness. And Delta, she's putting all the pieces together. She's like, oh shoot, I can't use that drone up there. I can't use the drone to spy on Naruto, to keep track with his movements. And so because of that, Delta, she's essentially been cornered. And just like a wild animal is cornered, she only has one option. It's to go through. Her back is against the wall. There's no other options. She's gonna go through Naruto. Well, Naruto once again is making that remark about Jigen. Delta charges forward, and then Naruto says, okay, you've already taken a giant Rasengan before. Let's see if you can take another one. Let's see how sturdy that ninja tech body of yours is. Naruto dodges her attack, jumps into the air, and then uses a super giant big ball Rasengan in his Sage of Six Paths chakra mode, and he just levels her. And the amount of chakra that goes into this attack, I'm gonna say this right now, this was a huge missed opportunity when it comes to double page spreads. It was a huge missed opportunity because the amount of damage that's left from this attack, it's so deep that Delta is so far into the ground, so far into the earth, that when you look at Naruto is drawn very small and the crater is very vast. Like, when it comes to double page spreads, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of this, right? When you go back to the war arc and you get around volume 62, 63, it's somewhere around there. When you get around there, that should be around the time that Naruto has finally gotten the QB to cooperate with them. So Kurama is working in sync with Naruto. Naruto's in his KCM version 2 form, and after he deflects all the Biju Damas that are fired at Might Guy and Kakashi by all the Biju, you get this double page spread of where Naruto by himself shoots a Biju Dama to match the Biju Dama that's being fired off by all of the other tailed beasts. And that double page spread just shows you the magnification of how powerful the attack is, and it just shows you how overwhelmingly dense that chakra chakra is. There's a lot of emphasis put on it. We needed it for that scene right there. This was the money shot of the chapter. This needed to be a double page spread. Ikimoto left that on the table, and what's really sad about it is this is a monthly manga, so Ikimoto had the pages to do it, because a monthly manga runs between 60 and 80 pages, and this chapter is roughly 42 pages if I'm not mistaken, so he definitely had the space to do it. This was just something he left on the table. And when you go back and you look at the Naruto versus Delta exchange, when Naruto and Delta, when their fists collide against each other's face, that was another opportunity for a double page spread, just to show the emphasis of it. So I mean, this was something that kind of annoyed me a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, this is Ikimoto's style. This is Ikimoto's style. The art isn't as dramatic. But I'm gonna tell you right now, like, what I really loved about this ending is when you look at Naruto, Naruto's got that look that he had from part 1, where he's got that confused, goofy, yet satisfied, highly accomplished grin on his face, because at the end of the day, he looks as if he's had fun. He's protected his children, he's protected his adopted son in Kawaki, he's protected his village, but he's also shown like, hey, I'm Hokage for a reason, baby. Like, you didn't understand what was about to happen. Like, I just manhandled you. Like, I love what you saw out of Naruto in that moment. Now, I want to go ahead and I want to address one other thing, which is what I talked about in the very beginning of the chapter. So here's the thing. Everyone's talking about the fact that, oh, the Boruto manga is spending too much time on the fights. It's spending way too much time on these fights. The Boruto manga is at a point now where it is giving us 3 chapters of just straight action, 2 chapters in a row of heavy taijutsu. Why is this happening? Why aren't we getting more plot progression angles? And I'll say this, right? This ain't nothing new, okay? Like, first, let's just start with the Boruto series before we even go to Naruto. Like, if I'm not mistaken, it's either volume 3 or volume 4. So the Momoshiki battle, that took up a whole volume. That was all action-packed. And it did the same thing that you're getting in this chapter here, where the only time we cut away from the action is when we're getting the reactions from other characters and the feedback. When you go back to the Naruto manga, like Naruto versus Pain, that was roughly 14 chapters. The Sasuke versus Deidara was 12 chapters. The Jiraiya versus Pain was 11 chapters, strictly focused on them. The only time we really got any break from the action is when you got the Jiraiya flashbacks, or when you got that moment where Jiraiya is contemplating running away. Outside of that, just straight action. Sasuke versus Danzo focused on those characters heavily for 5.5 chapters. Naruto versus Obito lasted almost 2 volumes, and this is 10 Tails versions of Obito. And I remember when those chapters came out, you had people saying, oh my god, I waited a whole week for Talk no Jutsu. I waited a whole week for a flashback. I waited a whole week for a tug of war. I can't believe all Naruto did in this chapter was hit Obito with a Rasengan. What's going on? The pacing is so slow right now. What's Kishimoto doing? This is something that's been going on for a long time. The difference is some people say, oh, well, the manga was weekly back then. Okay, but if the manga was weekly, people will still be complaining about it, saying that we're just getting action after action after action. This has happened. So I mean, you can't please either way. The only way I would say that Ikimoto could probably fix some of these complaints is if he did what I was talking about, where he had more double page spreads, if he had more panels giving us more detailed action. That would probably be one thing, but given his art style, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen because he's mimicking Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball art style, and when you look at that, that's not gonna happen because Akira Toriyama didn't do that as much. He didn't really go for double page spreads as much as he probably could have. The action was very emphasis on drawing those lines to show how quick the characters are fighting, to draw the sound effects as they're fighting, to draw from a certain angle and perspective. That's what Ikimoto is trying to capture. He's not trying to capture the Masashi Kishimoto way of doing things. And I think it's a welcome change. And I would say this, when the anime gets a hold to it, for those of you who might be complaining about, oh, the manga chapters are just 1 volume of straight fighting, 3 chapters out of the 4 chapters in the volumes can straight action, then the anime will probably do this better for you, because what we got in these chapters is roughly going to be an episode. Like maybe 2 if they stretch it out and they add more to it. So I mean, I think that this was okay, but what I want to ask you guys, for the chapter question is, I'm very intrigued with this idea of hunting down Jigen. And so because of that, I want to know, between Naruto and Sasuke, who do you think is better prepared to hunt down Jigen? What do you guys think about that? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.